Good morning, friends. We have touched on what we're going to talk about a little bit before, but Scott and I had met this lady on our last cruise, and her name was Barbara, and she was all about coloring outside the lines because she would go to do an art project and it didn't fit the mold of other things, and so lost kind of her confidence in her ability to create, and then realized there's no rules around creating. So she has this whole thing where she talks about coloring outside the lines. I love her, and I'm trying to remember her last name all of a sudden. Anyway, I'll think of it. But I was thinking about our daughter Courtney and how she was like that, where she would do an art project, sort of, but she wasn't afraid to take it one more step, one step further. So we had gone to her young fives classroom, and her teacher, I think it was Julie Young. I don't remember. Julie, if you're out there, you are like amazing. And we came in and she asked Scott and I which drawing we thought was Courtney's, and she had them all up around the room. We're like, that one. And she goes, yep. And she said she loves her because she will do the parameters of the project, but just a little bit differently to make it stand out. And she had that creative kind of thing in her. So I love her, and I love people like that because I think sometimes we do get stuck on coloring inside the lines and we're afraid to step outside of that little comfort zone. And I look at Courtney now and I'm like, whoa, I love her. I love all our girls. Um, but her specifically she just was not afraid to test the boundaries of things, me included. So I had to learn to be mom for her and not squelch that. Um, but I love that. And I love people who help us do that and give us permission to color outside the lines.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about Courtney, I was thinking about that because, if you saw on my personal, I guess it was on my personal page. I don't know if I shared it on Sprightly, but Courtney was the speaker for International Women's Day. And when you were talking about like her creativity and the fact that like she just has always had a really good sense of self, I think, too. Like, at least that's how she comes across. I don't spend a lot of time with her, but I've thought that since she was little. She knows like who she is and like what she thinks. And yeah, as a mom, I know I have, my Zach was a little bit that way too. Like he always just knew like who he was and what he wanted. And as a mom, it's challenging because you don't want to squelch like their spirit. And sometimes it's like we just have to guide it a little bit. Because I remember him saying that. He's like, I'm always in trouble. I'm like, yeah, but it's just because, but you're not. You know what I mean? Like you just don't fit exactly this right now, but keep going because it's going to serve you in the long run. He was just very strong willed. He was he was the go-getter. And when you're in school and you have this whole classroom of kids, you can't have necessarily the one who just wants to go do. So it was like, but keep doing that because it's going to serve you in the long run. And it has. It served him very well. And so anyway, I just when you were talking about Courtney and drawing outside the lines and all that kind of stuff, like I just love that. And I love that she had a teacher that young at that young age that encouraged it as well. Because I have to say, Zach really didn't. He had a fifth grade teacher that was amazing. But I have to say, out of his 12 years of school, until he got to tech school, he was probably the only one that got it and encouraged that. So
It is hard because when you don't fit in the mold of whatever, it is very hard. And as teachers, we have to learn how to encourage that. And at the same time, there are parameters because we have 30 kids.
Absolutely.
So I get that, but I do think it's too bad. I still have former students who come and thank you for letting me be who I am. And I think as we have more kids, more and more who don't fit the mold, it's so important to love those kids. We don't have to agree. We don't have to understand. We just have to love them and ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions. So yeah, I love that. Courtney learned how to use that and she would challenge people. And a second grade teacher did not appreciate that. Who is the teacher? And she go, you are, but if I was, I would do it this way. And just like, ah. I love that teacher, but they definitely bumped heads a little bit because they were both very strong-willed. But by the time she got to high school, she kind of learned how to hone that. so that she would challenge people without kind of being in their face about it.
Uh-huh.
And so she had an art teacher who, I forget what they were doing, but she said, well, she did hers in color. And then he marked her way down. And she said, you told us to think outside of the box. And when I did, and I put mine in color, you marked me down. And he kind of went, whoa. And Scott said it's so interesting now because all the kids, that project, they're all in color.
Yeah.
They're in their showcase at school. So we have to learn how to challenge that without, being too much in people's faces and learning how to, there's a finesse, we know.
There is.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So color outside the lines. Cause I think even as adults, we're like, we go to do something and we want to do it right. And there's no right way in art.
Not
And
when
I'm
it's
still
not when
learning
it's
that.
creativity.
No
Yep.
right.
There's no
Have
right
fun
way.
with it. Yeah, have fun with it. Wait, I won't share again because I just shared, but that just happened to me where Courtney said, think abstract, just put color and have fun and use some different things. Use watercolor and chalk and just have fun. And I went, this is like super fun and relaxing and who cares? Nobody ever has to see it if we don't want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right, everybody,
are we
share
gonna
with us your creativity because we love to see what you're doing and know what lights you up and brings you joy when you're creative. So
yeah.
we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.